I am Lamont at large. I am standing in front of 1722 South Carson Avenue in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am in front of the University Club apartment tower, and I'm here to tell you a story about love truly gone wrong. If you've ever been through Tulsa, Oklahoma, you might have seen this building as you drove through town. A very odd shaped building. The architecture is very, I guess you would say, somewhat deco, which is another word for old. As you can see, the building itself is about 20 stories or so tall, but then it sits on top of an 8-story tall parking garage. So on June the 7th of 2011, a couple that used to live here by the name of Josh and Amber Hilberling, you may not remember their names, but their story was absolutely viral. If you're a fan of true crime, you definitely recall this story. So they're in their apartment on the 25th floor of this apartment tower right here, and they were doing what a lot of young couples do when they first get married, which is fight. Not saying all newlyweds fight, but this couple had a somewhat tumultuous relationship slash marriage. Amber was 7 months pregnant at the time when they were in their apartment and they were arguing. There was a maintenance man also in the apartment with them doing work in another room. Now this is where the story is basically really he said, she said. So Amber's story was they were fighting. Josh attacked her and she pushed him off, and he tripped on some miscellaneous items and went crashing through the window of the apartment, fell from the 25th story right on top of the parking garage right there. It practically died instantly. So she calls the cops, they come, he's pronounced dead right at the scene. Some of the residents in the apartment said that the body of Josh, when it hit the ground of the parking garage, was so loud it shook the building, and they thought that an earthquake was happening. So the police were conducting their investigation. Amber gave her side of the story to them, and she eventually was placed under arrest for second-degree murder. During the preliminary court proceedings, Amber was claiming all along that it was self-defense, but there was a couple things against her proving otherwise. Number one, Josh had recently got he filed for a restraining order against her through the courts. A lot of time his family would say that he would call them saying that Amber's crazy, she's doing this, she's 7 months pregnant with my kid, she won't stop doing drugs, so forth and so on. So after conducting their investigation at the crime scene, Tulsa homicide detectives ended up booking Amber on a murder charge and taking her to the county jail here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's not even there 24 hours and she already bails out. So she's free on bail before even the prosecutor is even trying to go to trial for this. Let's talk about the facts of the case that is somewhat stacked against her in terms of her being charged with this crime of murder. You got Josh, who filed for a restraining order against her 2 weeks previous, ended up not going back to court. Maybe newlyweds, they reconcile their differences or what have you. You got corroborating evidence from his family stating that he would often come to them. She's crazy, I can't do this, she's doing drugs while she's pregnant with my child, so forth and so on. Him telling all his friends she's crazy, they're constantly fighting, they're constantly arguing. It's just not gonna work out. I want a divorce, I don't wanna work this out. You have the evidence from a firefighter who at the scene of the crime remembers a very distraught Amber Hilberling crying, and I quote, "I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I pushed my husband," unquote. You got the taped interview with the homicide detectives, where after they left the room, Amber Hilberling is on videotape saying, "I'm a horrible person. I can't believe I pushed my husband out the window to his death. His parents were right. They said that he knew that I was going to kill him, and I did." So far you have a lot of evidence against her that she, pushed her husband to his death. But on the other side, on the defense side of things, we got a 5'5" pregnant woman who was being attacked by this 6'6", hulking military man, and she was simply defending herself. The prosecutor, in my opinion, did not have a slam dunk case, even though they have a lot of evidence from her own very mouth stating that she pushed him to his death. Wanting to avoid a trial to where it was not a guaranteed win for their side, they gave Amber a sweetheart of a deal. Sweetheart of a deal. They say, you plead guilty today, you'll get 5 years in prison. You'll get out and you'll be on supervised probation for 15 years. Now, being 19, 20 years old, 21 at that time, you're out before you're 25, and this will all be behind you. You won't be on probation for 15 years. They'll probably cut it down to 7 or 8, and then by the time you're 30, you're done with everything. It was a horrible accident. We all know you didn't mean to kill your husband. You guys were fighting. You guys were arguing. This is just a horrible, horrible accident. But surprisingly enough, her attorneys felt that they could just totally get her off. And she took their advice wrongly, in my opinion, and took the case to trial. So during the trial, Amber is testifying that she pushed her husband Josh in self-defense because he grabbed her shoulder and was growing frustrating in the argument that they were having. She simply pushed him in self-defense, but surprisingly, the jury just didn't buy it. And on March 18th of 2013, Amber was convicted of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison, was given a $10,000 fine, and was ordered to reimburse the family of Josh $6,000 for the cost of the funeral. Her story was all over the news, the internet. She was interviewed on Dateline. Nancy Grace talked about her from the HLN network, many other news magazines. This was a very sensationalized story. And of course, she was on Dr. Phil too, which is where I somewhat remember this story from. But this story, as sad as it is already, takes an even sadder turn. On October 24th of 2016, Amber was found dead in her jail cell. The coroner's office determined that it was asphyxiation. We'll put the exact cause of her death in the description box below. So we're gonna end this story. We're gonna go visit the grave of Miss Amber, and come with me. Okay, so this is the grave of Amber Michelle Hilberling. October the 1st, 1991 to October 24th, 2016, she had just turned 25 years old when she was found dead in her prison cell. You know, in hindsight, the attorney probably was telling her, oh, you could beat the case, we could beat the case. A vain and narcissistic moron gave this woman some very, very, very bad advice. if she would have took the deal, she would have been out right around the time she was found dead in her cell. And, you know, let me say this. I feel for both families. There was just a lot. There's a lot going on in that situation, more so than we probably know publicly. And I do not look at this woman as any kind of a murderer, nothing of that kind. I just think they had a fight. Possibly she pushed him off of her because they were just getting into it, just like young people do. You know, we fight like cats and dogs because we love each other, but we're frustrated. And, you know, he hit that glass at the right angle. And glass at that height in a building possibly should not have broke like that, but neither here nor there. And Josh died tragically, and so did this girl. I don't want to paint anybody as this and that. This is just a very bad story of two young people who both tragically lost their lives. I wish this girl would have just took the deal. This would have all been over behind her, and she could have been out to raise her son. But, you know, she felt it was necessary to escape the torment that she was probably dealing with, being locked away for a crime that, you know, you're going to believe what you want to believe. What is public opinion, right? But the court to paint her that she maliciously and knowingly pushed her husband and wanted him to die, that is not, I don't believe. Me standing here right now, my feelings is that's not true. My feelings are that this was just a horrible mistake. And maybe you do a little bit of time in prison and then you get out, and there, you know, there's only losers in this situation. There's just one of these stories that nothing good happens at the end of the day. Nothing good happens at the end of the day, and I'm very sorry. I feel very sad for this poor girl right here. And I feel very, very sad, and I feel very sorry for Josh as well. I want to conclude this video by saying I don't want to paint anybody in a right or a wrong light. And I was going to go visit Josh's grave, but the information about it is not readily available. And unfortunately, I am out on a time crunch. I got to get to Dallas very soon. And I wasn't even going to do the video, but I would have been mad at myself if I didn't. So next time I come back up here, I will dig a little bit deeper and try to find exactly where Josh is buried. You know, at the end of the day, just a very, very sad story. A son is going to be raised with both his parents dead. That's just it's just a horrible thing. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Certainly not my best, but, you know, considering I, you know, was pressed for time, I just, you know, kind of wanted to just do it rather than leave Tulsa without doing it. Live, but not live, but I'm still alive by the grace of God. I am Lamont at Large. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it more so than you ever do know. Thank you. Peace out.